So I mean, you mentioned Noirwave. I've been reading up a little bit on you, obviously, in preparation for this. But just generally, if you could break down, I know it's a whole thing, but if you can break down in, let's say, a sentence or two, what the Noirwave movement is about.
So basically, the Noirwave movement is something that has grown throughout the years. Sorry, I laugh because it's such a it's every question. I always have a different answer.
Yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
That includes
the daily things, and then getting into the studio, and then making those daily things audible.
Can you break down Noirwave for us? What is it?
So Noirwave is it's a mentality really.
And you say you belong to the Noirwave movement. Can you explain what it means? What is Noirwave?
I'll give a better description. Noirwave is it's like new wave mixed with African music.
And it first started off as just a musical genre.
Called Noirwave, which is new wave, from the 80s and stuff, with an African aesthetic to it, Sort of Europe and Africa sort of combining. Basically taking both those things and then trying to mash them up instead of having something called African music and having something called whatever,
And the more I sort of grew up, the more I started to realize that there's so much more than just music. It's art and visuals and fashion. Yeah, the philosophy. It's sort of breaking down barriers, of what we sort of think, recreating a new sort of Africa,
It's hard to so basically, in a short sentence, it's a new wave with an African aesthetic, guys. So Noir obviously meaning black, and then wave meaning it's a new sort of shift, or let's say a whole new
Movement.
I won't say movement, but movement revolution.
Okay.
So it's in the arts, let's say.
So a renaissance.
Actually, yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
Of a new kind of black,
Yeah.
So a new kind of African person.
Yeah.
A new kind of, we're leaving all the stereotypical sort of mass-produced blackness behind, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
going into individuality, so who are you actually as an individual? Are you just another, person that's into another black person that's into what we call black stuff?
Black things,
Black things,
yeah.
You're just into black things too, or are you actually trying to break out of that,
Okay.
So Noirwave was just about sort of breaking out of that.
Yeah.
That sort
mold
or culture, I would say, or cult,
Okay.
type of thinking.
So what excited me about it? Because I suppose that because it is this constantly morphing thing. You said yourself you'll define it differently pretty much every time you talk about it. But what drew me to this is kind of what Unmask Africa is about as well, which is kind of, look, we can't rewrite history. The history is history, even though we could argue history books were written by the people that won, right? So there's a lot for me in terms of Africanness and African identity that kind of just got left aside. For example, it always gets left out that Africa is the origin of mathematics.
Exactly.
Modern medicine, things like that. People just conveniently sweep under the rug, right? But let's say we're launching from where we are at now. In our view, it's time for a shift, that we redefine how Africa is viewed,
Exactly.
right?